Awesome. Hey guys, welcome to That Pedal Show. Dan here.
Mick here.
Zach here.
Zach from Mythos Pedals. Yeah!
Zach, give yourself a honk.
Oh!
Self-honking.
So I was feeling unusually loose today in the tuning and note choice department.
What I would give to feel unusually loose. What a great change that would be. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for dropping in to see us. This is so cool.
It's been a long time coming. For those of you who don't know, this is Zach from Mythos Pedals in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's right.
Right in there in the heart of the center of the music universe.
Well, yeah, one of them, I guess, yeah.
And you've been here for guitar shows?
Yes, and we did the Birmingham show and then went to Anderton's, and now I'm here with you lovely people.
Awesome.
Wreaking all sorts of havoc.
Well, it's great to have you. Obviously, we have mutual friends. We should talk about Joey Landreth.
Yes, of course, honking.
We should, you can have two honks in the space of 2 minutes. Yeah, nice. Actually, there's a lot to talk about. It's a bit of history stuff, a bit of interesting Carter vintage guitars we should talk about.
Sure.
And all that stuff. Where should we start?
Let's start. So we first heard about you through our dear friend Joey.
Yes.
And he had a couple of things on his board that we were doing. I thought, oh, this is very tasty. And he spoke so very highly of you. But the interesting thing was you were doing something specific with Joey quite early on. So
Right.
How did that happen?
Well, when he first came here, he had a version of the Mjolnir, which is my...
That's how you say it.
That's how you say
Mjolnir,
it.
yeah.
Mjolnir.
Thor's hammer, yes.
You have some difficult things to pronounce. So,
no.
Susmaryosep.
Yeah, Susmaryosep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Rolls off the tongue.
I know, well, I didn't name that one.
Oh,
but,
you didn't? But you saw it and thought, yes.
Yeah, but hey.
It's a saying, isn't it?
It is. So that's a pedal for RJ Ronquillo, who's
Yes.
a Nashville YouTuber and fantastic player, and he wanted basically to combine one of my drives and an echo, and then he thought, because his family's a Filipino heritage,
Right.
and that is something that mothers yell at their children. It means Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Susmaryosep. And he thought, well, that's
brilliant.
That's a 3-word phrase. Let's put a boost
That
with
is
it.
brilliant.
And that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Seeing as we're loosening up, can we hear it? Let's start
Sure.
there. Why not? Before we do too much talking. You're going to play for us?
Sure, yeah, I'll try.
Okay. So the amps we're using today, we have, it's a Marshall 1987X.
Well done, Dan.
I got it right. Far out. Miracles do happen. And of course, the wonderful Two-Rock.
Classic reverb signature.
That one.
You didn't go for 2 for 2.
No.
He's like,
You're going to pace myself. Realistic goals.
Yeah.
Baby steps. All right. So, the Susmaryosep.
oh man.
So the echo on the top is just a mix slider.
Yeah.
Because what RJ wanted, initially he wanted just the Herculean, so the overdrive in it is the Herculean V2. It's this one.
Right.
Right here. And he wanted that with an echo that you could just turn it on and off and had no control. And then he said, well, maybe a mix control. And then I said, well, it's got to have some
He'll
more
be having one of
tweakability.
these before too long. First he wants
Yeah,
mix
yeah.
control, then it just goes nuts.
Well, so on the side, there's accessible trim pots for the time and the feedback.
Oh, okay, all right.
But he wanted sliders, and so that was, a whole can of worms. But the slider is just the mix.
Right.
And then the overdrive in the center is pretty straightforward. It's the same layout as this,
Yep.
and then a boost. And it works in line. It's just, the boost, then the drive,
Okay.
and the delay, all in order. But the drive kind of can do. It lives in that sort of transparent realm that so many other people. I know, and I hate it, but that's what it is. So
okay, by transparent, you mean it's not changing the basic shape of the drive of the EQ curve?
Well, it is, but in the realm of marketing guitar pedals,
Right.
It's similar to other things that do that job that people think doesn't change the EQ, but it does.
Okay.
So that it's similar to the Timmy and the light speed, but it's not a derivative of those things.
Okay.
Yeah. But you
Sits
know
in
what
that
I'm saying.
space.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's the same basic idea. So with the gain down, it's just kind of a boost, and you have a clarity, which is a modified tone control, and a bass control, and then you can pump the gain up and do everything from a rhythm to a lead sound.
Oh, let's do that.
Give us a bit more.
Sounds rather delicious.
That is really cool. That is really, really cool. You say you got a trimmer for the echo time.
For the time and the repeats.
What's the range of the echo?
It's got about 450 milliseconds.
Oh, wow.
So, it'll do most things.
That's killer. Dan, have a just come on.
To the 9 and the harmonics. It's really lovely.
Yeah.
Really, really cool. What's the boost section made of?
It's just a single transistor, sort of, not too dissimilar from an LPB1.
Okay.
Sort of,
Yeah.
but those circuits are super bassy.
Yeah.
And so we tried to shelve that, so it just kind of hits in the mids and the highs just enough to slam into the Herculean circuit.
That's very, 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 very cool.
Yeah. Well, RJ's idea was
Are you eyeing that up already, Simon?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at him.
I think we all are.
Because he demos guitars and he does little gigs here and there.
Yeah.
He just wanted something to throw in his bag, and consistently when he is demoing guitar and doesn't know what to use, he just has that, and so
Yeah, yeah.
because that's like
Great.
his sound.
The kind of bass roll-off function is super useful.
Right.
So if you're using something like a deluxe reverb, which has just got endless bass, you can just.
Are they
Very
all
cool.
independent?
The
Can you have just the delay or just
oh yeah,
okay,
they're all
wow.
independent. Yeah,
Really cool.
totally.
All right, history time. Rewind. Something I didn't know about you, which Joey told me, which was that you used to work at Carter Vintage
I did.
Guitars.
Yes.
The nerdier among us who have read lots of books over the years will know Walter Carter as an author, and specifically of the Gibson electric guitar book, among many others, I would imagine. But
Right. He was Gibson's historian. He worked.
He was.
Yeah, he worked at Gibson and was their in-house historian for a
And
time.
then he started a guitar store.
Well, he worked at Grun's
Yeah.
for quite some time, and then they left, he and his wife Christy, and started Carter. So just right on 8th Avenue in Nashville.
And you worked there.
I worked there from early 2015 to late 2017 when I left to do this full time.
Oh wow!
So, but during that time, I saw some stuff.
And were you really into guitars before you worked there? It was kind of a following your passion kind of thing?
Yeah. I ate it up. I read every book. I was online. I was like reading all the forums, like about all the minutia that most people don't care about, but we care about.
Yeah.
You know? And just kind of lucked into the gig. But I worked on their website and with John Ronquillo, their photographer, we started doing the videos with Joey, and that kind of became a thing. And now that they're just off to the races with it, and it was an incredible time.
Can you remember the most expensive guitar you sold?
Oh, I helped sell the first burst.
Did you?
Yeah. So we had
the first burst.
The first actual. It was a 58. It was it left CMI in Chicago. May 23rd, 1958. And then the slash burst.
Right.
In the ledger it says special finish, so they hadn't really named it because they were still in 58. They were still making gold tops.
Yeah, right.
It had a 3-piece top. It was super flamey, and it went with just a Gibson rep to go to stores, and he was going to show, hey, here's the new finish we're going to do. What do you think? And it found its way to Memphis, and this young man and his father were there looking to buy a guitar, and he didn't want a gold top. The guy brought in that one. He said, Dad, I want that, and he sold it to him, and he'd had it since not soon after May of 58. And
my word.
The original owner, I saw, every time you see someone walk in with like a Lifton case, you're like, oh, I wonder what that is.
Yeah.
And I saw this older gentleman walk in with the case, and his wife was following behind him, and they went right to the back, and Walter came up and said, we've got the first burst here. It's like, you're kidding me. And so it was there for a time, and I helped facilitate the sale with Walter and Christy, of course, but I was the monkey going and plugging in amps and getting all the stuff.
Oh my goodness me!
Can we ask what that went for?
I won't tell you what it went for, but it was priced at $625,000.
Yeah.
So it didn't sell for that.
And when was that?
That was I think late 2016 or so.
Yeah,
I honestly can't remember.
Yeah.
I've inhaled a lot of solder smoke since then.
One of the things that always fascinates me about vintage guitar stores, and we asked Mike at ATB the same question, was, does it ever seem normal to be around 50s Strats and Tellys and Les Pauls? And
it did to me after a couple years of like every day, you're like showing it to people and tuning them and cleaning them and restringing them and stuff. It's just like, it was just the norm. And it kind of ruined me on a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Because, there's great guitars from every era, from every part of the world. But then you see those and, it just becomes like, that is the standard for electric guitar, the pre-CBS Fenders, the golden era Gibsons, and then all the pre-war Martins and et cetera. It was really quite an education. The first time, the thing that changed me more than anything, apart from any electric guitar, was the first pre-war Martin I played.
Right.
And I played like a late 30s 28, and I strummed it, and it shook my whole body, and I thought, I didn't know what an acoustic guitar sounded like. And that changed everything.
Man.
It's too cool. Everything they tell you is true about vintage guitars, right?
there definitely are dogs, but
of course.
I think there's people I hear more often that everyone says, oh, they're not all great, but there's more great ones than bad ones, for the most part.
That's good to hear. So what made you go, okay, pedals is my thing, I'm going to build pedals?
I think I fell into it like a lot of other people, where I was doing it as a hobby, and then just by making friends with people, and I gave Joey one, and then I gave Rob Chapman one, and people started using them. And then after Joey was here and told the story about how we met, and
Joey Chappers,
everything kind of started taking off
from
that very moment.
I hadn't realized it was that recent.
Yeah. Well, I started making them around 2000. I named the first pedals Mythos and in 2010 just to give myself a name, just so I could have some sort of brand. But I was making one every 3 or 4 months, But yeah, after Joey, that's when it all started taking off.
Wow.
Do you have any background in electronics or anything?
No, I'm just a hobbyist. I'm a relentless tinkerer. I do owe a great deal of gratitude to Brian Wampler for all the books that he wrote, because I bought those way back when, and that, you know, started me on the modding obsession that, you know, Josh Scott and all those guys went on. But no formal education in it. So I've always said, you know, and it's the same with guitar, you surround yourself with better players than you. In the pedal community, you just surround yourself with better designers and smarter people than you, and you kind of learn through osmosis.
Yeah, it's a nice. I always feel like it's a very nice community as well. Whereas in the guitar world, you know, if you ever had the pleasure of going to the NAMM show and you go to the Fender and Gibson booth, if anyone from the Gibson booth goes on the Fender booth, they're like, "Oh no!"
They get the rope
Like
out.
the scene from Anchorman.
Yeah,
It's like,
and they'll start doing things like leaving.
I killed him with a trident.
And they'll start playing tricks on one another, you know, because they're kind of enemies, aren't they?
Oh,
in a way?
absolutely, yeah.
But in the pedal world, it's just
In the pedal world,
not like that.
like the last night of NAMM, everyone gets together and goes bowling.
That's right.
It's great. But it's not just, it's, you know, you've got the small builders, you've got Yoshi from Boss is there.
Right.
You know, like everyone's there
Everyone's
just
there.
hanging out. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
And there's not a lot of secrets, and like everyone's really helpful. Josh has been
Josh
so
is the
helpful to
best.
me.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
any problem, I send him a schematic, and he's like, you know, talk to people and figure it out.
There does seem to be that sort of general overriding ethos that, you know, rising tide lifts all ships. If you all work
Right.
together, the whole thing gets bigger. And I guess the pedal market has been lucky in that way that it has just seems to be. It's like the universe; it just keeps getting bigger, right?
Yes.
But, okay, so there we are. Then we're at Carter Vintage, and you go, do you know what? I think I can do this full time.
Yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, it was really, I worked so much at both places. I was losing myself.
Yeah, right.
You know, I didn't have time with my wife, and all I did was, you know, I'd go to work. I'd get up in the morning, I'd build pedals, I'd go to work, I'd come home, I'd eat, I'd build pedals, I'd fall asleep. And that's not a life I wanted. And I was finally reaching the point to where I could sustain my half of the rent just by selling pedals. And, you know, we thought if we don't take this chance, it's going to go by.
Good man.
So, you know, it's definitely, I have a lot of friends that try to jump right in and not do anything else. And it took me almost 10 years to really
Yeah.
be where this is super sustaining.
It's interesting that, isn't it? Because, you know, you say, when did you say you left Carter? 16?
Late 2017.
17.
Yeah.
And you think, oh, and then, you know, 3 years, here we are. But of course it's not. It's the 7 years before.
Right, yeah.
So where is tonal home for you then? Where is kind of, what are the guitar sounds that make you, that's why I want to do this?
The early ZZ Top records, before
Nice.
they remastered them, you know. I love Free, all of Paul Kossoff's guitar tones. Really, most of the tones that inspire me the most, there's no pedals involved.
Yeah.
You know, I just like really loud, dynamic guitar. And I think that's a big thing for me with all my pedals, for the most part, is the dynamic range of everything. I want to play lightly and it clean up, and then hit harder and it gives a little more, and, you know, the same with your volume. This is as useful as every single pedal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that it's funny. That's just kind of what I do.
So you mentioned Kossoff and you mentioned Billy Gibbons. Dan,
Well,
Dan,
just-
Dan seems to be similarly inspired.
No, the humbucker thing is really interesting. It's a whole other world.
Well,
you know.
that's me. I own a Squier Strat that hangs in the garage. It lives in the garage, and then all my other guitars are P90s and PAF style
Wow.
guitar. I don't even own a nice quote unquote single coil guitar in the traditional sense.
What's in
Sorry.
Is someone talking over there? Okay, so we had a little listen to this. Maybe you could play a bit for us. We'll switch a few pedals on and off.
Sure.
And then because I'm intrigued by these pickups. I'm super intrigued by these pickups. sounds killer.
Wow.
That sounds really cool. So what? Come on then. It's a Novo.
Oh, yes.
We know it's Dennis.
This is Dennis Fano's relatively new company. They've been around for a few years, but these are built in Nashville. This is called the Serus TCS is all the designators, but the Serus is the model. And it's 25.5 inch scale pine. It weighs less than 7 pounds. It's all baked, torrefied, tempered, whatever you want to call it. Maple neck, rosewood board. And then the wrap tail bridge with throwback DS55 pickups, which are replicas of the very first pickups that Seth Lover made for Gibson in the actual humbucker.
With no screws.
There's no adjustable poles. There was 2 slug coils on the original prototype. Because the very, very original, Seymour Duncan has it. And look, it's in a dog ear, and it kind of has like stamps, like stamp things on the casing. But the actual humbuckers that they were going to make were going to be this.
Wow.
And they added the pole pieces mainly for aesthetic, because the higher-up said, no, it needs pole pieces. That was probably Ted McCarty that said that.
Yeah, he said, because it looks completely wrong with that.
I know, it looks weird. Everyone, are those lace humbuckers? What are those? And
It looks like
no.
It looks like full-size Firebird pickups.
Yeah, and it kind of lives in the realm. Like, to me, sonically, they sound something kind of like a Filtertron meets a P90.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of clarity, but it's still punchy. And there's no clips of these on the internet. I just said, let's try them. And it turned out well. It works well with this configuration.
It's such a cool guitar. I hadn't realised that because we've obviously seen lots of pictures of these. I hadn't realised it was physically quite a big guitar.
Yeah, it's real big.
It's great though. I'm a big. This is like a child's guitar on me. I'm not a huge person. I'm not like Greg Koch or anything.
Oh yeah.
But it's a really cool thing. Was it green once?
Well, I'll say on the gold finish, Gibsons would turn green because whatever the powder was, it was gold. They actually shoot green underneath, and when they distress it, they wipe away the gold, so it looks like it's greening.
Lovely. Wow.
So you can see all these the relic marks where they did that. And it's crazy, like, thin finish. You can actually, just like scratch it with your fingernail and it'll come right off. It's my guitar. I don't care.
50,000 people just died.
That's right.
Yeah. No, we're the same. We're with you. Okay, that was cool. We heard the Chupacabra. So let's talk about names.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I know. What a can of worms that is. Initially, it was a Mythos. It was going to be mythological, and then a buddy said, Mythos, that's Greek for myth. It's way more interesting.
It's beer, isn't it?
And I mean, it's a beer.
Yeah.
I didn't know that at the time. Yeah. But the idea was name everything kind of after mythological heroes or weapons or etc. And in some respects, it's kind of shot me in the foot because you can't say the names of the things. But I don't stick to that, as tightly as I did in the beginning, like the Daedalus that you have over there that no one can say, and the Mjolnir, of course. But, I people can't pronounce Herculean, and it's like, I don't know how to win. So,
well, you may well have already done this, and excuse me if you have, but like a series of YouTube videos on how to pronounce my pedals.
I've thought about it.
Ringtones. Herculean.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. The Argonaut. Now, this is... Mick's been using the big version of this. Is that right?
Argo.
The Argo.
The Argo.
Yes.
And so this is like a no knob, no hassle version of that. Is that right?
Right. So it's just a cleanish octave up without the fuzz. And the idea was to combine it with your favorite fuzz or your favorite overdrive to do those sort of octave up things.
Okay.
But it's different than the Argo, in fact, in the circuit and how it responds. Because the Argo's kind of got that traditional Octavia thing where it happens up here.
Yeah.
But this kind of just works everywhere, and it's weird.
Okay. When anyone ever kicks on an octave, I always go to this position, neck pick up, and turn the volume down a bit.
Yep.
Right.
But this is all over the place.
So,
and it's kind of gross in a good way.
Yeah. Gross is good.
I just want to hear that with humbuckers for a second.
Obnoxious.
That's killer.
It's with another pedal, it kind of makes sense. By itself, it's a little strange.
Yeah, it was almost like it needs something to.
Yeah, it's
Drive it a
kind of
little
wimpy. I mean, it still can do a thing depending on how you kind of have to play the pedal.
Right.
It doesn't want to just like be wrangled. You really have to like play to what it does. And when you use an overdrive after it, it reacts a little differently too.
Okay.
Is the Herculean after it?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, man. Oh, I really like that.
So I just want to have a quick feel of that a sec. Weirdly, in that configuration, it's a step towards the Argo.
Right. Yeah.
Feels kind of more in that vein.
Yeah, and the idea is just like hitting a driven amp, with that. But I like it just to pair like that. That's how I use it.
Yeah.
It's cool, and it's tiny too.
Yeah.
Speaking of tiny, I think the first pedal I ever played of yours was with Danish Pete on Anderton's, and I think it was the Golden Fleece.
The bigger one.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Back then.
Is it the same circuit?
The same circuit. Yeah. It's just shrunk.
And this is a one knob transistor overdrive
fuzz thing. Yeah. Yeah, and it just all, I always say it lives in your guitar, because just like the dynamic range of the Chupacabra, I want people to clean up and, let the guitar do all the gain knob work.
Okay.
Maybe you could show us.
Killer.
Yeah.
Dan, try that with humbucker. That's lovely off the volume pot.
Yeah, it responds very similar to like a fuzz face, but it's not a fuzz face.
How do you achieve that? How does a pedal? I've always wondered this. Is it to do with input impedance? Is it to do with?
Yeah,
Yes?
that's a big part of it. Yeah, and you know that one's the diode pair that creates the fuzz, and that has a lot to do with how it responds to. So you know, I spent a lot of time trying to find the perfect combination, and I think that it does what it's supposed to do. Of course, when I play guitar, my amp it's never clean.
Right.
Like
okay.
it's always at the cusp, and so because I use a Victoria Silver Sonic,
Right.
which is like a Tweed Deluxe with reverb and stuff. It's always kind of at the cusp of breaking up.
Right.
So that's kind of where it lives.
To the point where when you roll the guitar back a bit, then that's
Right.
where your clean lives.
It's even more, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether we should do that. Maybe in a minute. Okay, so we stood on the edge of the cliff of circuits and all that there. I'm guessing every time you release a Joey Landreth High Road Fuzz or something like that, there tends to be a little bit of a waiting list.
Yeah.
So your build process is you?
And my wife.
Yeah.
And now we are transitioning a lot of things to surface mount.
I thought you were saying me and my wife, and now our baby.
our 2-year-old son. I give him a solder iron in one hand and a toy in the other.
You want to eat tonight?
Yeah.
Get those boards done.
This is lead free, Daddy.
Yeah. No, he's still got another year or two.
Okay, all right, great, good to know.
But I'm transitioning some of the builds to surface mount.
Yeah.
And I have taken great strides in like really tweaking them to sound the same, if not better.
So what did you find if you just took this your straight through hole circuit and then you simply duplicated that with surface mount components? What was the biggest difference that you found?
The high end response.
Right.
That was the biggest thing because there's so much less of a trace to go between. Even if I just said, okay, let's just take the through hole package and make it surface mount, and not have any of the plated through hole parts, that is going to change the sound in a way.
Actually, it's probably worth, for anyone who doesn't know, just explaining the real basic difference between a through hole construction method and surface mount, just briefly. If that's
Right. Okay. So if you think of through hole, you have your circuit board, and there are plated holes, and the components have leads, and they go through those holes, and you solder them, and it's kind of like threading a needle with the signal. Whereas on a surface mount, all the components sit on one or sometimes both sides, and they don't have any leads. They just have a tiny little box typically, and it sits on the pads, and there's nothing going up and down. It's just all on one side.
Yeah, I didn't really know about surface mount at all, and then the first encounter with it was somebody sent us some pedals they needed to be modded or something, and there was like a load of this dust in a bag.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, because you're used to seeing diodes and transistors and op amps and things like that. Things, physically big things that you can hold in your hand
and sort of identify.
Yeah, and you can read what it says on them, right?
Right.
Whereas in surface mount, a lot of those components are super tiny.
Oh yeah, they're really. I build all my prototypes that are surface mount by hand.
What?
Right.
So I use tweezers and a soldering iron, and I put them on there. Like the Susmaryosep, I built that by hand with surface. And what I will say that not every component is still surface mount. If there's something crucial, like a clipping diode or something that I think definitely matters, or maybe down the road I want to change, I leave that through hole.
Sure.
And so.
And typically, what are the things that really matter?
The diodes.
Yeah.
And then on the Mjolnir, the standard top mount one, the gold one, I leave the protection diode. So if someone accidentally puts more than 9 volts into it and it fries, I can change it.
Sure.
Right.
A lot of people will say surface mount is so hard to work on, and it's really not that bad. You just have to know how to do it. Soldering's hard regardless until you know how to do it. So I don't know. I think that argument's kind of invalid, but that's just me, internet.
Yeah, well, it is. It's a very contentious subject, isn't it? I mean, I know I've played versions of through hole and surface mount pedals, exactly the same pedals, and can hear let's say, a very clear and marked difference, which is, it would be, in the context of that pedal show, it would not be right to say better or worse, but it would definitely be right to say different.
Oh, yeah.
So you're saying that if you just take exactly the same circuit and you replicate that, then that's what's going to happen. So you tweak from there?
Right. Either I'll tweak a value. Oftentimes, you know, the layout is not... You with surface mount, you have to really be conscious of how your traces are ran and stuff, but I try to make it easy because these are built by machine to build them. Yeah. But I try to make everything as efficient as possible, and then I tweak values. So if it's too bright, you roll off some highs. You know, it's that simple. Or if it's too dark, you increase the highs or whatever. But I think keeping certain things like diodes for clipping, that is a lot of where the feel is. I'm not of the school of thought that thinks an op amp is that crucial unless it's a completely garbage one. But
if it depends on the purpose of the op amp. Because if you're driving the op amp into distortion, you know, then it does become crucial. But if you're driving the diodes to create the distortion, then it's a different.
It's just
thing.
an amplifier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that you know. Anything that I feel like this has to, I have to still handpick.
Yeah.
Then it's handpicked and hand put in by me.
And that enables you to go from you and the missus up late.
Right. Well, I'm still up late. I'm building. It's just getting busier and busier. But at least the amount of grunt work.
Yeah.
You know, I don't feel like if I can make it sound as close as possible, there's no reason for me to be doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
And that way I get to produce more pedals. I could get to produce more content. I get to be more active in the community. And I think that is just as valuable as me sitting over a bench putting in resistors that sound, you know, close to the same.
How do you start a design? Like, what's the, you know, are you listening to guitar sounds going, that's something that really turns me on. I want to see if I can replicate that sonically with a pedal, or is it, you know?
So, sometimes the Chupacabra, so that's, you know, I wanted something that was ZZ Top-ish.
Right.
And so that took me a while to kind of, you know, to get right. But sometimes I'll start on paper with like an idea of like, maybe it'll be based around just a transistor or an op amp or, but a lot of times I kind of start at the end. I have I have pieces of paper and I draw what I think, like, okay, let's do a chorus vibrato thing. What features would I want it to have? What's it going to look like? Okay, now how do I get there? And I kind of skip to the end in that for a lot of things I do.
That's great.
Yeah, because again, I don't have a schooling in electronics.
Sure.
So that's kind of how my mind has to work.
So skipping to the end, you've got a pedal here called the Positron Collider.
Yes.
Which is just the most awesome thing I've ever seen. So this is, shall we say, heavily influenced by the Ghostbusters thing.
It's I took when I released it, I took pictures of it on my Ghostbusters uniform. So I'm an idiot. I actually have one of not one of their cars, but I have a car. I have a 59 millimeter Cadillac.
No.
Yeah. I've got to fix it up. It's in pieces, but I do have one. Yeah.
'Cause they had the actual one parked at NAMM a couple of years back. Do you remember that?
Yeah. I wasn't there for that, unfortunately, but yeah, I know way too much about every single thing. But this has winks and nods to parts of the pack, the trap, the wand, all the stuff. And I made them last Halloween, or maybe before that, I can't remember. But since we're making another movie, I thought I might make some more.
So are they actually for sale then?
Not at the moment.
No.
But maybe one day. I don't know. It was...
what does it do?
It goes and makes things really fuzzy and really loud. Because it's based around the ram's head, but with a treble bass. So that the two small knobs above the total protonic reversal foot switch on the left is the treble, and on the right is the bass, because you can't really tell what anything is.
Okay, so we've got treble, bass, gain, and output, yeah?
And then the switch in the middle is clipping for silicon or LED, and the total protonic switch lifts the tone stack out and just makes it obscenely loud. And all the mids come back, of course.
Nice. Have mercy, Dan.
Okay.
That sounds
really
massive.
loud. Yeah, it sounds
Awesome,
good.
isn't it?
I felt like Philax then for a second.
And it had the LED beside the, I think its intensity is the fuzz control. It actually flashes as you play, and as you turn the gain up, it's brighter.
Right.
It's like a VU meter or something. It's totally unnecessary.
That's fantastic.
Not a 61 Fender Strat, anybody?
Getting it done.
That's awesome, and they're not for sale.
Well, maybe soon.
The amount of headroom in it is crazy.
Oh, it's I need to make it a little less loud. That's the one thing people complain about. This is too loud.
No,
I'm like,
man.
I don't know.
That is killer.
Very
Wow.
cool. Very,
It
very,
works
very
really
cool.
well on bass too, which is, I mean, as you would assume with the treble bass control, but it sounds really good on bass. So.
So it is a fuzz. It's basically a.
It's a ram's head sort of thing. But no, I mean, like, I wasn't trying to like find the right transistors and all that. I'm like, let's make this sound cool.
Not skinny though, because a lot of the Rams heads. I mean, you're a big fan of Rams heads, aren't you? Mm-hmm. But to me, they have this kind of skinny kind of texture, maybe a bit. But
I think a lot of that is in the tone stack
Yeah,
too.
right.
But
And that's
so when you
totally
drop it
different.
when you drop it out, it's like,
yeah.
Yeah.
that's awesome. Oh man, that's so cool.
Blimey O'Reilly. Okay, what's
Oh, what's that?
Yeah.
What is that? So I made the pedal for RJ, and kind of around the same time, I met Mr. Rhett Shull,
okay?
YouTuber,
Yeah.
and touring guitar player. And his favorite amp is the old GA5T Skylark. And so he said, wouldn't it be cool to have that kind of idea
The
in a
little-
pedal? The little
Yeah,
champish
man,
with the
they
tremolo.
are
Yeah.
awesome.
And so it's overdrive thing that's supposed to sound kind of small, like a small amp, and a tremolo. Internally, it has some controls to change the presence and the bass and the tremolo depth. But externally, you just have loudness, which is the master volume, frequency, which is the tremolo speed, and then overdrive, which is, of course, the overdrive. And that's that.
I believe it's your turn, Daniel.
Okay. That's pretty sexy. What was on then at the end?
Just the
Lark and the delay.
Wow.
yeah the
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra went on and off.
There's a front of the note thing that's got that is
Yeah.
actually incredible.
That's what I was going to... I know we don't have a Mjolnir on the board here, which
Right.
is kind of Big K influenced, right?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a different thing. But one thing I'm hearing, like this, what seems to run through a lot of your game pedals is presence and crispness
Right.
and all the things I didn't think I liked in overdrives when I was into Tube Screamers heavily, because Tube Screamer has none of that.
Right.
And then you kind of grow up and you go, oh wow, that rock guitar lives in that crunchy, high-endy, overdriving treble goodness. And I hear that. It seems to be like a family trait that runs through your stuff. Is that fair?
Yeah. And I hate when you hit like a low note and it just goes and you can't play it.
Yeah.
So I don't like things that are bright. I like them to be present.
Yeah.
And retain, that the characteristic of the attack. And whether or not that compresses immediately or is immediately clear, that some of the things that react differently to that. But I like pedals together.
Yeah.
And so I want everything to work together, and that's kind of kind of have to do that.
Yeah, and I
That's
think
so
that
cool.
kind of, it almost moves on from what you were saying earlier about liking a bit of hair in the amp, because
Right.
then you really need that.
You got to have
Yeah.
that
Otherwise,
attack,
it's just woolly. And then as you say, things together, and then we're into gain stacking and gain staging. It's really cool, man. That I'm just thinking about this and that together.
Right.
And you've got rock and roll in a couple of boxes,
Yeah.
and a ton of gain stages too. Really cool, really cool. Very eye-opening.
The Lark might change a little bit because this is still. I was getting all the parts, a new board revision right before I got on the plane, like literally 2 days before. So I got to do a few more final tweaks, and then it'll be starting production. I might get a little bit more hair out of that, but like I said, internally you can actually trim a little bit more bass and make it a little. It's got a presence trimmer, and you can make it a little darker if you want it to. But it's it's kind of how I think it should be set. Right.
That's a really lovely take on a trim.
Yeah,
super simple. Just the speed.
Great. Awesome.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. So we spoke a little bit about measures you're taking to kind of up production a bit and maybe grow the company a bit. What else can we look forward to?
Definitely, I finally found a source for some analog chips.
Oh, okay.
Some Bucket Brigade stuff. I don't know if you guys saw. I made a pedal called I released the first look at a pedal called the Oracle, which was my step into the digital realm of delay.
Wow.
But I was playing with it. It had a little bit of a noise thing that I could never get it out. And at the end of the day, I was trying all my delays and I was playing that, and then I got out my AD9 and plugged that in and thought, that is what I like.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Where was the noise out of interest?
it was just in the delay line. You'd hear this, and it really drove me crazy.
So that's a power thing, is it?
I have no idea. I've showed it to a bunch of people, but it had a ton of features, not crazy, just tap and then subdivision and modulation. But I think I want to make an analog delay.
Good, man.
Yes.
Without being, too insane, simple to the point, but what a player would want. Some more modulation. And then hopefully start moving more things to surface mount and give myself a little bit more spare time so I can do more fun things that I can make maybe 20 of.
Sure. Yeah.
And say, here's a hand-wired thing that we made just for fun.
Yeah. I like that idea, like sort of kind of custom shop and standard line. And
Right.
That works in many respects. What's the hope? How big do you want it to be? Do you want to be boss, or do you?
Oh no. Honestly, everyone asks when I'm going to get employees.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want any.
Yeah.
So I want to be where I can continue to do what I do without having to have a huge payroll. Maybe one person eventually.
Yeah.
But I just want to keep enjoying the process and not have to get so hung up on the soldering and and the little thing, the grunt work.
Sure.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
that is,
sure.
it's so hard. I mean, I work around 80 hours a week usually, and it's just like exhausting. You
Yeah,
know?
it's great. In it, first couple of years, it's all good because you're full of enthusiasm and you love it, and you never stop loving it. But then there is a point where 80 and 100-hour weeks are like, my life is disappearing.
Yeah.
here, and this needs to be more sustainable.
I want to enjoy these things that I've purchased and
Yeah.
spend more time with my family, and that's a big thing. I actually want to try gigging again.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that goes.
That's
Actually making music?
Yeah, what?
What?
in Nashville as well.
Yeah.
So not a tough crowd.
There's no
or
one there
anything.
to play with.
Actually, before we sign off, how is it being in Nashville? Because, for people like us who don't live there, let alone live in the US, Nashville seems like this glittering gold, shining beacon of music talent. Is it that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was at Carter, every day someone came in who I'd never seen before, and they were the best player I'd ever heard.
Did you meet Vince Gill?
Oh yeah,
Oh.
Is Vince Gill a nice guy?
he's the nicest guy in the world. Oh yeah,
Yeah, let's hold. This would be a good moment for me. I'd love to meet Vince Gill.
Yeah, he was super nice, but even then, just guys you'd never heard of them. They just played downtown. The talent pool is just unbelievable, and not just guys who were just chicken picking. Do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
But the community in Nashville is so great because we have Big Ear Pedals, AWOL Pedals, Rude Tech, Matt Hoops, 1981 Inventions doing the
Oh,
music.
he's in Nashville, is he?
Yeah, so there's a lot of like different kind of pedal builders just within that one county. So we all kind of hang out and work together, and
And does that concentration of player talent rub off on being able to design stuff? I mean, do you have friends who you give stuff to and get them to listen to it? And does it work that way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll loan things to people, and they'll say no, it's too much of this or that, or it'd be great if it could do this. And so that definitely, and guys that are touring, all across the country, the world, which is, that's the best feedback you
Sure.
can ever hope for.
Yeah.
So really lucky in that respect.
Very cool. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to have a go on the Chupacabra.
Mm-hmm.
Dan,
I want to have a go on the Positron.
Zach,
I'm gonna play the Hercule. I want to play the Susmaryosep, and we'll do some stuff.
I believe I've picked this guitar up and put it down twice, and we haven't heard it yet. So.
All right, man. Okay. All right.
Killer sounds.
Really, really
Killer
good.
sounds.
Really
today.
good.
Awesome.
Cheers, guys. Thanks so much for watching. A massive thank you to Zach for coming in. That was brilliant fun. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Also, check out thatpedalshowstore.com where you can get toasty warm.
Are you not sweating?
I'm warm for the first time in 20 years. Leave me alone.
I've got a t-shirt on.
Yes. And also, if they haven't completely sold out already, tickets for the Andy Timmins gigs we have in the UK.
Yes, thatpedalshowstore.com where you can buy all this stuff. Mythospedals.com.
That's it.
Mythospedals.com to check out Zach and all his stuff. Thank you to Andertons. Thank you to Pedal Empire. And all of that other stuff. Click the thing down, read the description, click the links. Happy days. I'm overcome by tone, Dan.
Very good. Cheers, guys. Have a great day. See you soon. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.